Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the City of Delray Beach's regular commission meeting scheduled for Tuesday, February 20th, 2024 at 5 p.m. We are 19 minutes late. Please call the roll.
Mr. Frankel?
Present.
Mr. Long?
Present.
Mr. Boylston?
Present.
Ms. Burns?
Here.
Mayor Petrolia?
And I am here. If we could all stand for the pledge, appreciate it. All right, we're at agenda approval. Any additions, deletions? Did you want to mention?
I did.
Yes.
As I told you all earlier today, we did have to remove 5 agenda items for the Magnolia Place appeal. I was out last week and I learned this morning that notice wasn't properly issued. And so in an abundance of caution, we're going to move this to March 5th.
Okay, very good. So that's off the agenda. So if anybody's here for that original Magnolia Villas, is that what it was called? Okay, they're not going to be. We're not going to be talking about them today. Any other changes, deletions, additions? Seeing none, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
All right, so we've got a couple of presentations, and I just wanted to, because I missed this, and I'm going to do it right now. I just want to thank St. Vincent's Ferrar for bringing over a really nice goodie basket for the commission, and thanks for our service. That was done last week, or a week and a half ago, and I apologize for missing that. I know that my colleague up here tried to do it, and anyway, so thank you so much for that goodie basket to the commission. And we'll move on to the presentations. We'll start with the 100-foot Christmas tree. Mr. Sam Metot, you're here to talk about that. The
Yes, good
volunteers, I'm
evening,
sorry.
Mayor and Commissioner. Sam Metot, Parks and Recreation Director. And we will be brief, but I do want to just take the moment. We want to highlight the remarkable dedication of our volunteers, each of whom has devoted more than a decade, some nearly 2 decades, of their time to the 100-foot Christmas tree in Holiday Village. Our Christmas volunteers are an integral part of what we know as our Christmas tree lighting ceremony as well as the Christmas Village. Over the years, they have selflessly invested numerous hours, heart, in adoring and infusing joy into our holiday village, making it a warm and welcoming place for everyone who visits. While we know that our volunteers choose to share their time with us without any expectation of being recognized or rewarded, today we wish to do just that. We want to let you know, volunteers, just how much your dedication is appreciated. So on behalf of the City of Delray Beach, thank you for your time, thank you for your effort, and most importantly, we want to thank you for creating Christmas memories for our entire community. We are truly grateful for your continued commitment. And if you don't mind, I'd like to just read off a list of names for those that have been those long-time volunteers that
Please do.
many of us all know. First is Mary Mike Williams. She is considered our co-lead elf.
All right.
Jeff Mall, another
Is that
co-lead
you?
elf.
Just wave. Yeah, great.
Oh, we are handing them out as well. Jeff Mall, a co-lead elf and also our trained village coordinator. Joanne Mead. Joan Mead, I'm sorry. Judy Giovino.
Okay, we'll hold that.
Chari Lynn. Sue Revy. Mary Maddie. John Morgan. Charles Rain. Richard Gigliotti. Tulin Belay. Barbara Hare. Carol Joel. And a few that could not be here, I believe Richard Beltran, Miss Ginny Hyde, and Donna Weber.
Very nice.
Thank you. Do a group picture outside.
You gonna do a
Oh.
picture?
We're asking for a group picture up to the front, so if the volunteers could move to the front for us, we'd love to do a group photo.
And as you're moving forward, I just want to let you know that there was an incident, or during our time, I think, we were up here where the old tree, come on up, where the old tree was actually to the point where we really shouldn't have people going into it. So we had to make a determination as to whether or not to purchase a new tree. And it was almost like there was a lot of pushback on that. There was Grinches out there that were saying we shouldn't be spending that kind of money. But I'm going to tell you something. That tree has brought this town so much absolute joy, and people travel from all over to see that tree. You guys are doing such a great job of being ambassadors to the city and that tree, and really all we ever hear about is how wonderful our Christmas is here in Delray Beach. And so y'all deserve a big, huge thank you and a round of applause.
Thank you.
Do you want us in or out? Okay, stand up. I know, I wish I were at.
All right, 1, 2, 3. One more.
One more. Yeah, Nina. All right, thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you. You guys have boxes for all those too, so you can grab those. Thank you so much.
Good to see you. Hey. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you. Only.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so we're going to move on to the next presentation. Ultra exciting, the federal government update from our lobbyists. Thank you so much for being here. It's Mr. Willis, right?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
very good. You got the floor.
Thank you all for having me here again. City Manager Moore, Commissioners, Mayor. I really appreciate the weather you have down here. It's a little warmer.
Not on Sunday.
Yeah. Well, today is good.
Great.
Yeah. I just wanted to tell you guys, working with your staff here has just been a tremendous opportunity. They really want to do well for the city. There have been times where in other places I have asked for something and a few weeks later I'll get it. And oftentimes I ask for it and within 30 minutes I have it. So it's wonderful to be able to get the information to who I need to get it to quickly. And so they always do a great job. And they put together good projects, which is one reason why we've been so successful over the last couple of years. So last year, as you may recall, we got $3.5 million working with Representative Frankel's office and staff here to secure funding for water resources. And this coming year, for the FY24 cycle, typically this budget has passed in December and we would be here telling you what happened in that budget. But as you guys, I'm sure know, everything got kicked down the road till March this year as far as the FY24 budget goes. The good news is the city still has 2 projects in the bill. And as long as they can pass the bills in March, you will be funded. And those 2 projects are water and wastewater for about $1 million again this year. And then also police department technology upgrades for about $1 million as well will be funded this year. And all expectations right now is that come March 19th, there will be a bill signed into law. And so all the big hurdles from the outside, the political side, have been taken care of to get to the place where we can pass those. The only issue that might still present itself is on the House floor amendments could be presented that make the bill unpassable. We won't know that until March. But right now, everything looks good. Everybody is on track to get that bill signed so they can move to FY25, which will be the next step. And those funds, if you do get awarded, the FY24 funds will become available later this summer. And then you'll be able to draw down on those later this year. And so total in funding in the last 2 years is about $5.5 million for projects here in the city. So in FY24, I want to look at some of the opportunities that are presenting themselves. There's a couple of things that we're working on right now. One is the FY25 community project funding. And that is the same funding source that we received the funding the last 2 years in, the $5.5 million. Those are going to open just as soon as the FY24 budget passes. Then we'll move right into FY25 and working on those funds. We expect that to pass sometime in December, and then funding will be drawn down spring of 2025 sometime if we have projects in that bill. And so we've been working a lot with Rep. Frankel's office to make her aware of all the different needs here in the city and to make sure we can prioritize those and get those in the bill when they come to the floor. The other option that we have, or one of the other things that we're looking at for this year, is the Water Resources Development Act. This is a bill governing water resources here in the U.S. It typically passes every 2 years. There have been some times recently where it's gone 7, 8, 9 years before a bill was passed. Most recently, they've done a really good job of keeping on track to every 2 years. In 2007, there was $7.5 million in funding authorization, meaning you're allowed to spend up to $7.5 million on water infrastructure that the city is eligible to go after. And there's very few people that can go after those funds, but the city is one of those. We have asked Rep. Frankel's office, and she has submitted to the Water Resources Development Committee in Congress and a request for $100 million. So that pot would greatly increase, and that's not a one-time source of funding. That's more of, this is thinking 25, 30 years out for the city. As you have water infrastructure needs, you can go to that pot of funding and draw down on that a little at a time. And so that has a really good shot of passing before December of this year. It's typically a non-controversial bill that most people can get behind. So we're very hopeful that that'll be included in the bill this year. There's also, like I was talking about, the $7.5 million, that pot. We are already working with the Army Corps to draw down on those funds for local projects right now. The city has submitted a letter to the Corps in December, and that's working its way through the Corps bureaucracy. And we're working with the Corps pretty regularly, along with Frankel's office, to make sure they have all the information they need and that we can draw down on those funds as soon as they're available to us. And so we will continue to keep you aware of those things. And then also there's another program through the Army Corps of Engineers that assists with any kind of flood mapping that you're doing. They pay 50% of the cost, and the city has a project like that in the works. And so we're working with the Army Corps to get the funding to pay a portion of that as well. And so we should know by whether or not we get that funding by the summer of this year. Okay. And then again, just to get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty on community project funding, those projects that will be available for funding are transportation, water, wastewater, FEMA, flood mitigation, law enforcement, and the arts, those types of projects. Again, we're going to start working on those March and April of this year, and they'll be put in a bill by June, July, and then we're looking at funding those projects by the end of the year and drawing down on that money early next year. And then also this year, as always, there's a ton of federal grants out there that are available to the city for any kind of infrastructure. And we had several meetings today with your different departments discussing what grants are available and what we might be looking at for this next year. And so we're starting to put lists together and prioritize what seems to make the most sense as far as cost shares go and the amount of money that you can get for the projects and those sorts of things. And so we'll continue to pursue those with the city. And that's kind of where we are for right now. Just wanted to thank you again for the opportunity to work with the city, and your staff have been, again, tremendous and wonderful. And we just thank you for all the things that we've been able to partner on. And if there are any questions, I can take those now.
Okay, do we have any questions? Yes, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, first, thank you for pointing out that it's a partnership between if you're your firm and mainly our staff, having to get you what you need in order for you to go and lobby for funds for us. Will you be providing this update written? I don't believe in my backup.
Yes, I can provide that to you.
Okay, and specifically in-depth information in regards to that new $100 water.
Okay.
$100 million water fund. I
Absolutely.
want to learn more about that, so thank you.
Yes.
Very good.
Okay.
Anything?
No questions. Thank you for the report.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, I wanted to ask a couple of questions. The wastewater infrastructure, I know that, I'm sure that, I don't know what it's all about, but we have a plant that is shared between two cities, Boynton Beach and ourselves. We get a lot of complaints about odors that are coming from it because it's relatively close to some communities. Would there be anything in that, and again, it's operated by two different cities, so is there anything within that could possibly be helpful to be able to get some coverage or whatever they do to kind of contain the odors from the waste treatment plant?
Potentially.
Okay.
There's several different funds that you can look at for those types of projects, and we would just need to see which one makes the most sense
Yeah.
and covers the right things.
It's never on our, it's not always like the focus because, again, it's shared between two, but
Right.
it certainly would be great, especially if there are two cities that decide to kind of come together. And I'm going to leave that to my city manager to maybe throw this out to the staff. That would be best to talk with you about it and see if there's something that is a possibility for that. Second, you had on there as things that are coming up that will have some money for transportation being one. That's an interest to me. I don't know if that's heavy transportation or if light transportation, like having moving vehicles through the city to be able to get people to park and then, have movers. That's something that we would be interested in, I'm sure. And then also the arts. I don't know, there's nothing, mostly we're working on water and we're doing very well. I don't want to mess that up, but I'm thinking that if there's potential for arts, we have a old, almost 100-year-old building, Crest Theater, that is going to require some work on in the theater part of the building, and I'm just wondering if there might be grant money for that. I know it's historic, but it's great to explore all angles if there's money out there for that
There's
as well.
definitely money out there.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those where there's several different pots and just figuring out which pot makes the most sense
Okay.
for what needs to be done.
Well, hopefully the staff has heard and they might talk with you about that as far as what might work to get some dollars in the upcoming 2024-25 session.
Very good.
All right, thank you so much. We
Thank you.
appreciate your being here and also giving us the good information and good news that we're still in the running for a couple $1 million from the
Yes.
federal government, which is great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
All right. Okay, I think I jumped ahead. So we're on 4C, which is the University School Medicine, I guess it's Emergency Medical Services Fellowship Program. Mr. Chief Tommy.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Chief Tommy, Fire Chief. I wanted to introduce a Division Chief, Sean Gibson. He's going to tell you a little bit about what's going on, introduce the doc, and the doc will start his presentation. I just want to say this is an awesome opportunity for us, and it just goes to say how much we strive to be excellent and be the best that we can be in our fire service. So I'm going to turn this over to Sean, let him kind of give you a little quick overview. Thank you, Chief.
Hi, Sean.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Commission. I have the privilege of introducing Dr. Scott Alter. He's from the Schmidt College of Medicine at Florida Atlantic University. He is currently an assistant dean for clinical research and an associate professor for emergency medicine. He's a graduate of Rutgers School of Medicine. He oversees all clinical research and emergency medicine clinical education. He's a core faculty member for emergency medicine residency program, so he teaches ER residents in our local hospitals. And he is going to be one of the leaders for the new EMS fellowship program at Florida Atlantic University. He is board certified in emergency medicine, and he's fellowship trained in emergency medical services, which is kind of a rare bird. Not all ER doctors are EMS fellowship trained. Dr. Alter is a nationally registered paramedic, and he is also a resident of Delray Beach. So we're excited to be on the forefront of a new program in South Florida. This is unique because there are no programs south of Orlando, am I correct? Yes. And collaborate with the College of Medicine. This program will provide our department an excellent opportunity to elevate our care for the patients that we take care of, as well as be trained in some advanced EMS techniques and partner with the university for all of their resources that they bring to the fold. So our medical director, Dr. Kushner, is excited for this program, and he actually will be faculty at FAU overseeing the fellow that will train at our fire department. So with no further ado, Dr. Alter.
Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today, and thank you, Chief Gibson, for the introduction. Chief Gibson really gave a good summary already, but I'll kind of go over a little more details. So for everyone's just knowledge on basic EMS and how fellowships are structured, within the medical sphere, you go to medical school first, that's 4 years, then you do residency to specialize in a field. In this case, emergency medicine is the specialty. A fellowship is then subspecialization. So after emergency medicine, you do a subspecialty. If you think about like a cardiologist, they did internal medicine first, then cardiology. So cardiology is a subspecialty. In that case, EMS is the subspecialty that we're starting a program with here now. So this is a 1-year program that will have a fellow that completed college, completed medical school, completed residency. So they are several years in advanced training already. A brief EMS overview. When you say EMS, everyone thinks ambulances and 911 response, but there's so much more to EMS than just ground transport. There's air transport, interfacility transport, event medicine, tactical medicine. There's also things like disaster response, mobile integrated healthcare, community paramedicine, things like wilderness medicine. So there's a lot more to just EMS than what we see and think about on an everyday basis. So now what do physicians do within EMS? We essentially provide medical oversight of all the care provided in the field. We oversee dispatch centers, the regulatory compliance, things like protocol development, what paramedics and EMTs do in the field without a direct physician order. We do research, education, quality improvement. We actually respond as well and practice medicine in the field under certain circumstances. So there are a lot of things that physicians can touch in the field, and that's what an EMS fellow is trained to do, is to become that physician to oversee all these systems of care, as well as to provide care in the field when needed. So the fellowship structure, Dr. Paul Pepe is going to be our fellowship director. Myself with Dr. Carrie Cohen are going to be the assistant and associate directors, and Lisa Clayton is our chair of our department. All of us are EMS trained, and we all have experience in emergency medicine and EMS. The faculty, as mentioned previously, will be all of the EMS medical directors in our community. So within Delray Beach, any response that happens in this city, Dr. Kushner will be the site director and lead in charge of the fellow for any medical issues that happen under the fellow's watch in the city. All of the physicians on board are board certified in either emergency medicine and or EMS, and all of them will be professors within the College of Medicine. In terms of the organization of the fellowship, so FAU is going to be the sponsor of the program, and then every agency, of which we hope Delray will join, will be a participating site, meaning the fellow will be able to work in the city of Delray Beach, and in doing so will operate through the authority of the medical director who's appointed by the fire department through their processes. Ultimately, we'd like to have this be county-wide, where we'd have a fellow that can operate across all the jurisdictions in the county, and depending where they're working, they'd operate under those local protocols set by their medical director. Accreditation-wise, this program will be accredited, so there will be oversight by a national body, and their job solely is to ensure that graduate medical education, meaning anything that's after medical school for the specialty and subspecialty training, that we apply and comply with all guidelines. So there's standards, there's quality, and making sure the fellow, when they complete the training, will be board eligible to sit for their exam to then become EMS board certified. Currently within the country, there are only 80 accredited programs. Within the state of Florida, there are only 4 currently. And as far as I know, there are no other ones in the planning right now besides ours. The next closest ones are in Tampa and Orlando, so there's absolutely nothing in South Florida. We'll be a trailblazer in this area, and people will come to this area because of the better EMS care provided and the educational, which comes with it, research, and just become a stronger location for EMS. A little bit about the fellow and their credentials. So as I mentioned before, any fellow will have completed 4 years of medical school and 3 years of residency. These are fully licensed physicians already. They all will have their Florida state medical license. They will all have an unrestricted DEA license. And an important point to know is they're all qualified to serve as the medical director even without this fellowship. So the current state law is you just need to have a Florida medical license and you can be a medical director. So the fact that these fellows will already be emergency medicine trained, they're more than eligible to be their boss's position already. So we're training them to be essentially future leaders in the field of EMS. In terms of employment, they're going to be FIU employees. They're covered by FIU's malpractice, by FIU's health insurance. They'll have sovereign immunity as we're a state entity. All the benefits are provided by FIU, and we're taking essentially all the liability for these fellows. The fellow is not an employee of the city, meaning the city will not have any liability for what the fellow does or any actions of the fellow. There's no direct reporting structure per se of the fellow in the city. The fellow reports essentially through the medical director, and if administratively wise, they report to the fellowship director. So at the FAU leadership side, we'll do everything administratively for the fellowship. When the fellow practices medicine, they have their own medical license. They're working under their own license, so the liability goes to them personally in their malpractice, which is again through FAU. And then any EMS duties that happen within the city of Delray Beach will happen under authority of the medical director. And the medical director, Dr. Kushner, will be the site director as well for the fellowship, meaning any issues with the fellowship would go through him as the person responsible for medical care for EMS within the city of Delray Beach. Education-wise, the fellow will get at least 5 hours per week of didactic in-classroom training. And then the clinical education, that's the part where we rely on the cities and the actual communities, where if there's an emergency, the fellow will be able to respond and take care of those patients in the field. The fellows will do ride-alongs with the faculty members, as well as with EMS captains and supervisors, and the fellow will also have their own vehicle, which I'll talk about in a few slides. These are typical things that a fellow does during their fellowships. They respond to 911 calls in a quick response vehicle, typically some sort of SUV. They will not take over care from the existing EMTs and paramedics. That's not their job. If the paramedic has a question and wants to know what to do, they will absolutely help out. They'll be there to lend a hand. But it is not their job, and they should not be assuming control when everything's under control. Not their role, not the point of a fellow. The fellows will also provide quality oversight. They will provide medical consultation by giving orders when needed. They can do incident reviews within the agency, so if something bad happens, they can help the process of remediation. They can participate in education and can also help out with mass casualty events and any other large-scale events that happen. I mentioned before that there'll be a vehicle that will be owned and run by FAU, and it will contain anything really you need for basic life support, maybe some advanced life support, maybe some things that physicians only can do, but again, it's not in place of an ambulance, it's just kind of to help out supplemental supplies. There'll be a portable radio, things like a monitor, glucometer, first responder bag, and medication bag, just kind of simple things initially. And then what are the benefits of a fellowship? So additional physician support in the agency operations. So currently a medical director is really all you need, but this is a supplement to that. You have an extra physician that's fully trained in emergency medicine that's learning emergency medical services. It enhances the level of service to the community. It brings up the elevation of just the medical care overall, the oversight of the EMTs and the paramedics currently. There's also potentials for grant funding to bring in more money to both the participating agencies as well as the university, and improving quality and operational considerations as well. So I'd like to entertain any questions that you have, and thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation.
It sounds like an amazing program to me. It just is going to enhance the ability to be able to respond to crises, and with somebody with a tremendous amount of training as per, a typical EMT, which they have training too, but this is a real much higher level. Does the fellow come to the I mean, it sounds like they respond to. So in
Yes.
other words, they could be at a different location. They're just responding and coming into the scene versus they could ride along, but for the most part, they're coming into the scene. They're not like housed and staying with and all of that, correct?
Correct.
If I'm understanding?
So it's a mixture where they'll
Okay.
probably do a few ride-along shifts to see what
Sure.
it's like, and do maybe an ambulance ride-along to see what it's like for an average paramedic or EMT, and they'll do a supervisor ride-along to see what they do. But the
Fantastic.
majority of it is really in their own vehicle. When needed, they can be called on the radio and they'll respond from wherever they are.
Mm-hmm.
If there's an MCI, they might carry a pager that automatically pages them so that they are notified of it, and if they're available, they will attend.
Fantastic. And how many fellows do you think that the city of Delray Beach will be having?
So within the whole program, which eventually, a couple years down the road might be countywide, we're only going to take one the first
Okay.
year. And I think there's more than enough volume call-wise within the city to support one fellow. Across the entire county, we could
Sure.
have tons.
I'm
But,
sure, right.
We're just starting with one.
Okay, fantastic. Any other questions?
No.
No? Very good. Well, good luck with that, and sounds like a great, are we the first, by the way?
Yes, you're the first.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. All right,
you very much for the
super.
time.
We're looking forward. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for the presentation. All right, moving on to comments and inquiries on non-agenda items, and this would be for our agenda and non-agenda items. Let's start with the city manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have actually 2 items listed. First, as Michael Willis just discussed, the city of Delray Beach enjoys a pretty tremendous trajectory relative to external funding opportunities for water infrastructure-related improvement projects, not to mention the current activity relative to the new water treatment plant development and construction, the revenue bond issue process that was first authorized back in 2022. Likewise, involved in the respective selection process, the specific transactions will be taking place soon, as well as our most proud occasion at this time, the fact that we are able to conclude the consent order. Working with the Department of Health, I recently offered an update to that effect via information letter report that was actually accepted by the Florida Department of Health in recent days. Likewise, we feel professionally that it is appropriate that we do as much as we possibly can to clarify external misgivings that continue to be perpetuated relative to utility meter operations and functions. I therefore asked Director of Utilities Hassan Harjamiri, who is accompanied by Chief Financial Officer Hugh Dunkley, to offer a succinct yet comprehensive presentation as to why we are where we are and the actual facts regarding the particular agreements in place. With that, I'd like to begin with Director of Utilities Hassan Harjamiri to offer that presentation, and hopefully clarity can be offered in that regard. Additionally, at the conclusion of their presentation, we have a nice video presentation regarding Board of Adjustment referendum considerations, given some of the feedback I've been able to experience
Good.
from some of you all individually. I think that will be helpful in terms
Yes, it will.
of providing an educational background for all concerned. Meanwhile, utility operations and functions. Mr. Harjamiri, begin with you, sir.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, Hassan Harjamiri, Utilities Department. Thanks for the opportunity to give you a brief overview of our meters operation and functions. I need to put my glasses. I cannot see there and I cannot see here. There we go. Just a little history of the water meters. A little bit more than 10 years ago, City of Delray Beach implemented the process of replacing all the conventional water meters to the advanced meter infrastructure, or better known as AMI. Back in 2013, City entered into a contract with Innovative Metering Solution to replace all the meters throughout the city at the cost of $7.7 million. A couple years later, the Innovative Metering Solution was acquired actually by Badger Meter. So Badger Meter Company took over the Innovative Metering Solution. There's a little schematic here of how this advanced metering infrastructure works. You actually have electronic, basically meter devices, communication devices that communicate throw out the antennas and other equipment and send a signal to the utilities metering or billing divisions in order to bill the customers accordingly for the water usage. In early 2023, while I was reviewing the water produced by our water treatment plant and the water sold, I noticed that I discovered the noticeable discrepancies, and that showed, we're selling more water than what we are producing. I had several meetings with the staff and utilities billing division, and also informed city manager in early April that there was issues. There were some sporadic issues with the AMI at that point. I'm sorry. Are you driving? There we go. Okay. Are we there? The previous slide. One more.
There we go. No,
One more. The
Forward.
There we go.
there we go.
Thank you. I had discussion with city manager in one of our biweekly meetings, and I followed it up with the email to him that there was issues. And at that meeting, also discussed with him that we are in contact with Badger Meter to see what can be done. It was obvious at that point that the issues were with the encoders or the endpoints. I have. There we go. This is a typical meters that were actually started in 2013. We replaced all the conventional with this type of meter. This is the body of the meter, and this is a register that electronically is connected to the meter, but it can be removed. And through the wire is connected to this piece, which is called an encoder. Actually, this whole thing is an encoder. This is the endpoint, which has a battery and communicate with through the radio frequency with the antennas, which I'm going to go through more than in detail in the future slide. So basically, the thing was this part from here to here, for some reason, is not functioning correctly. And the number of those were unknown. I mean, originally back in 2023, I thought it was close to 1,500 or so, compared to 22,000 meters, so that's about between 5 to 8%. And that's not a typical, but is start raising the issue. We need to look into it. Badger Meter, through our entire discussion that I had with them, and few of them were with also utility billing division, they stated that they do not have these encoders any longer. They were not manufacturing it. There was nothing available.
When did they tell you that?
That was in probably early 2013.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 23.
Okay.
23. I wasn't here 2000.
Yeah.
2023. So that was alarming because we had all these meter
Yeah.
badgers and encoders, and now we cannot find the replacement part. And they were strongly trying to convince the city to go with cellular. And to me, that was unacceptable because we had all these meters in place, and all of a sudden, now we're going to change our entire communication system and go with the cellular. Plus, we had to also pay for they could give us a credit for these, and then we have to pay for the cellular. So it wasn't acceptable to me at that time, and we pushed, and they said no, there is no encoder. So in October, I think of a past year, I went to city manager and I told them that unfortunately I'm not getting anywhere with the Badger. So after our meeting, the meeting was requested by city manager on November 7 with Badger. The call was made from city manager's office to Badger to have that meeting. 2 weeks later, we did have that meeting. It was a virtual meeting with their staff, with the top staff with Badger, on which we stated our concern and requested immediate solution to the problem that we were facing. About 3 weeks later, we had a follow-up meeting with them again, and these meetings, the city manager was present, Hugh Dunkley and his staff, and myself, which in that meeting, for the first time they said that they are going to provide this encoder to us and replace this damaged communication devices. Up to that point, all we have heard from them was just, no, you gotta go cellular. That was the only solution. So we took that. There was some communication back and forth as far as the working, the logistic of it, how it was gonna be delivered and who's gonna install them, who's gonna replace them. Originally they said, no, we just give you the part, you guys replace it. We just said, no. So they agreed to sending their staff to replace this. Last week on Thursday, we received the first shipment of 1,000 of this encoder at the utilities department, and Badger staff starting installing them today. I was told that close to 100 were installed today. So we're going to provide you with update as we go along this journey with them. The other issue with these encoders also is when, for some reason, this wire gets cut off. We call them tampered. That means somebody somehow physically has been damaged. And that's basically what it looked like. When we go look at the meter, we see things like this. So these are not, when we face this situation, these are not under warranty, these are not covered under the warranty. So we actually have to pay for these. The warranty is only cover the functionality of these encoders. So on average, every year, close to 1% of these, it needs to be replaced. We're hoping that this situation didn't exist, but unfortunately it does. If you go to the next slide, you will see these. These are actually, not these, but the others very similar. So these we have to purchase. And in order to hopefully have a communication reestablished between the meter and our billing division. So as I stated, this antenna and a battery, it sends a signal of what is reading from here to this gateway. And those gateways, the picture, we have 27 of those throughout the city. And these were done back 10 years ago. And usually where there is a gateway, there is an antenna. One of them is right here, top of the old school square. So these gateways, we replaced these for the past 2.5 years. We have replaced all the gateways. And 2 of them were actually done the past 3 weeks or so. As far as the warranty, I want to go over the warranty a little bit longer. The meter, the accuracy of these meters, it depends on the meter size. I mean, it's very comprehensive when you open the warranty provisions. Depending on the meter size, the smaller meter, they have much longer warranty period. Typical meter that we use for the residential areas, 3/4 inch, 1 inch, 1.5 inch, 2 inch. They usually have a much longer accuracy warranty. The larger meter, they only have 2 years. So that's why I put that. For their accuracy is 2 to 5 years. However, the body of this meter itself, the bronze part, the lead-free bronze part, is for 20 years. And we have some ultrasonic meters also that they use on an 8-inch, 6-inch, and maybe a couple 10-inch if we have, that they use for basically they use for the large size meters on reclaim and on water. And they have a lesser warranty period than the regular encoders type meter. When it comes to the encoders itself, the encoders they have warranty for 10 years, free replacement. Free replacement is you send this, you take them out, there are 2 screws on each side that staff have to take them out, ship it to them, and they send the new one back to us. After 10 years, there are some prorated provisions. For instance, from 11 to 12 is only 75%, and so on. So after 19 years, they only cover the 10% of the price of these encoders. Last week, we had a request that what city had spent on these Badger meters and other equipment since 2017. The request that we received, it says from January 1, 2017, and to this point, how much money you have spent. Staff were able to gather the information, go through all the invoices, and for the past 7 years, just make a long story short, we have spent $1.2 million. So the average of that is about $175,000 per year. But keep in mind, majority of these are for the meters that we had to purchase to provide it to the developer and the homeowners that they do an upgrade on their meter sizes. When the new development comes, 100 units or whatever it is, we have to give those meters to them, and then we recoup the cost through the meter installation fee or service connection fees, and there are fees associated for different size of the meter. It goes from 2,000 to much, much higher. So the cost of these are recovered from the new customers or the one that they do upgrade. Very, very seldom we have the meter that has to be replaced because it's been damaged, unless if there's somewhere the heavy truck parked on top of it, we just have to do that. So when you see that, again, those costs, the one that you see for meters, this is a cost for 7 years. There are also fees associated with these that they were originally established when they did the contract with the Badger. Is a maintenance fee, 40 cents for each encoder. We have to pay 12 cents per month. So you have 22,000 of them. That has to be multiplied and paid for it. There are costs for the gateways, is $20 per month. There are costs for, we've got 30-some people that they use the system to monitor what's going on. Access or licensing, they have to pay for that. So there are a lot of costs that if it's requested, those can be provided. But these were originally established when the bid was awarded. So make a long story short, is $175,000 per year. However, last year, we only spent $143,000 for expenses through the Badger. These are, again, are the average. And this year, I have $160,000 per year for operation of this meter system. This actually is in line with our neighboring municipalities, that they have not the similar size, but when you compare their customer base or number of the meter And with the money that they have in their budget and they spend, we are probably on the low side of this. I wanted just get your attention to Deerfield Beach. They got 12,000, between 12,000 to 13,000 meter. The budget is $250,000. Seacoast Utility Authority, they got twice the size of the customer base that we have. They have $400,000. So these are the normal expenditure that the utilities go through for their maintaining and operation of their water metering infrastructures and communication, and also for the new development. So more than half of these are probably recouped by the number of the new development or the upgrades or vice versa that are being done in those utilities. I want to stop here. I think the alarm went off.
Could everybody just silence their phones? I mean, they're constantly going off. We would like to not have the interruptions. Appreciate it. Thank you. Anything else?
That's all I have, ma'am.
Okay.
This point.
Anything from Mr. Dunkley? No? Okay. Very good. To the commission, is there any questions? I know this was just a presentation on, giving us an update.
No, I think this was really important. Obviously, I'm sure I'm not the only one that's received some questions. So to really walk through all of that, have this presentation to share with our residents, I think it's really important that you pointed out that total for the 7 years is $1.22 million, but half of that is the purchasing of the meters that we get to recoup that cost. And so the $175,000 a year is actually cut in half as well, if you take out the fact that we're purchasing those meters. So, I think that's. I really appreciate you sharing all that information, walking us through it, and I'm glad to hear that Badger is already, out there replacing some of these meters. I think one thing that we just didn't cover is the percentage of meters that were actually affected.
Correct.
What was that number again?
Thank
The
you.
percentage?
There are different numbers, and I want to be very honest with you. The number that we received through the utility billing was 4,800. That was back in early November.
Yeah, November of 2023.
However, when Badger
December.
came, they said it was 7,000 to 8,000. I personally want to wait to see actually when they go replace this, what happens. I mean, that's my goal at this time, to get to the end point and make sure that at least we get 95% of our meters
Sure.
communicating. Numbers really, I don't have no way to confirm it at this point exactly how many numbers. Those are utility billing is oversees that part of it.
Got it. And have we moved forward with crediting or reimbursing residents?
Yes, we have.
We provided direction for that. So that was top priority. Second priority is to get all the meters switched out, and then I'm sure the third priority is to circle back around on processes and policy as far as ensuring that this doesn't happen again.
Precisely.
Okay, great. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Burns?
I just wanted to know, the encoders, you said for a long time Badger said they weren't available.
Correct, ma'am.
So
Yes.
how much longer are they going to be available?
Ma'am, we just received 1,000, they say it's available now.
So the life on those are 10 years.
The life of the new ones are 10 years.
Okay.
Not the replacement part, when they come, they replacing actually the warranty on this. I
Right.
think when they come, the 8,000 that they are replacing, it falls under the,
Original?
under the next, like 11 to 12 years. 12 to 13, because they're already replacing these.
Okay.
So the warranty is not like you having a brand new set purchased from them and installed. If you buy a brand new, if you pay for the brand new part, that is warranted for 10 years. But the replacement falls on the prorated portion of it. I strongly believe that when these things are set and when we revisit the whole things, we're gonna make sure that our antennas are communicating back and forth. Some of them, maybe the height of those antennas needs to be changed. Because this radio frequency typically work on the line of sight. And so I may be coming before you and say these improvements needs to be made. It may not be all just the encoders. And city, some of the taller buildings have been constructed. Sometimes the trees are becoming the issue because we're dealing with the radio frequency. I'm not going to get into that at this point. We discover those. We will hopefully see what are the issues. If these are working, gateways are working, why we are not getting the signal.
Okay, my next question probably is a dumb one, but, so these were considered a quality product 10 years ago? Probably,
Yeah,
because
they established it at that time, the performance spec. I was not here. They were purchased way before my
Right,
arrival.
so do you consider them a still quality product 10 years later?
I prefer not to make that
Okay,
comment.
thank you. Thank you.
Anything
I'm
else?
done.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Franklin, thank you. And how about you, Deputy Vice Mayor?
No, just to say thank you for the presentation. Really appreciate it, guys.
Okay, so you said at the beginning that your reading was that we were selling more water, or no, we were selling less water than what we were billing for. Okay, that's an issue for me because. Okay, so tell me.
We, on my part, are more concerned about this water loss because that has a regulatory restraint in it also.
Okay.
So my thing is how much water we are producing from the water treatment plant, how much water we are pumping into the distribution system, and how much water we are actually selling. Because if we show that we sell way low water than what we produce, the South Florida Water Management District will recognize it as we have it a leak
Yes,
somewhere
sure.
and we are wasting the water.
Correct.
So on the environmental part of it, I have to make sure that we are below 10%. 10% is an acceptable rate. So that's where I come. I do not monitor or review the water sold every day or every month. Those are done by a totally different department. So.
Okay, so the question that I had, or I'm trying to understand, is that if you are producing less water than what you are selling,
Other way around.
okay, you're producing more water and selling less, you're not getting the amount of money that you should be getting for that water that's selling? Is that what you're saying? Because I heard it the opposite.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
For instance, in, let's say, average water produced
Yes,
at the utilities department water plant
right,
is every day is 14.5 million gallons per
Right.
day.
right,
But when you look at the water sold data, you see that you're only selling 14 million gallons of water per day. So
Okay.
there is 500,000 gallons of water that needs to be accounted for.
Are we accounting for it?
Well, that's when I looked at difference, I started questioning.
Right.
And that's why I went originally to city manager. I said there are some issues here.
Okay, and so are you saying that was the thing that tripped you up into recognizing we've got a problem with the meters?
We got a problem with the numbers.
Yes, the numbers on the
We got
meters,
a
right.
problem with-
Okay,
correct.
so that's what you use that for, is to make sure that we
That
don't
is
have a
for
problem.
that purpose,
I got
yes.
it. Okay, now, we have a company who basically stated and was very adamant that they did not produce these encoders any longer. And until late last year, they still insisted, and this has been since even before COVID, if I remember, because I know that the lady that was here before said that they were trying to get them replaced around COVID, but then they said it's not being manufactured because of everything going on with COVID. Remember that whole conversation? Okay, so we finally have them admitting and sending and coming out and replacing these meters. Is there a staff member that goes with them? Because here's why I ask, okay? It's just me. But you said they're not going to replace them without charging us a cost if there's a clipped wire in there. All of a sudden that negates our ability to be able to, have them replace them, right? So what would keep a company who basically wasn't really wanting to give you these encoders, okay, and wanted you to go to a whole new system, not clipping wires if there's nobody watching over them? Anybody? Is there anybody going with them from the city?
They're not on a continuous basis, ma'am. Not on a continuous basis.
Okay,
They have
well,
two
I would be
different-
very, very careful and cautious about money that they're actually saying these are all the ones that have been clipped, because I'm gonna tell you something, I have never, ever in my life seen anybody open up one of those, except for somebody that should be, and clipping wires inside of any kind of, it just doesn't happen. So I know that you said 1%, it could be anything, somebody, somebody dropping it down on top of whatever causes it, I get that. But what I'm saying is if it's above that average,
Yes,
I'd be looking at that company.
I definitely will. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Did
And when they replace these encoders,
Mhm.
there are a series of logistics that needs to work out. They
Okay.
are keeping track of, because each one of these, they have their own serial number, and they come at 0. So they're all reading 0 now.
Right.
So they have to do all that paperwork, and a lot of work needs to be done at the utility billing also to make those transitions.
Okay. And I'm just going to say, and I don't know, I didn't look at it close enough, but we all received, I believe, information that was produced through a PRR where it was over $6 million that was spent. I don't know, I can't remember what the numbers, the time frame was on meters and Badger meters and that sort of thing. It wasn't the 1.2, it was like over $6 million. You're shaking your head, yes. So Mr. Dunkley, you must have been involved in that. Can you go to any detail about that?
We might have filled a request, Mayor, but I suspect that might have been the cost for.
When we actually initially put them in even?
Precisely.
Okay.
Going back to 2013, you talked about
Okay.
that as part of the $7.7 million figure in the beginning of your
All right.
presentation.
I'll
That was
have to-
that
I'll-
reference going back 11
All right,
years.
I'll have to look at it closer, but I just saw that as a figure that just went, wow, what the heck is going on here? So if that's the cost, obviously that was the original cost, which also brings me back to, I'm so glad I said no to those meters to begin with when we were coming up with it, because I'm telling you, they have cost us not just in money, hard money, but problems. And you know what? Back in the day when we had the old meters that were spinning, everybody says, well, they just don't charge. They're not doing the right thing. They're not getting enough of the accuracy. Let me explain something to you. When you're talking about these millions of dollars that we're having to spend, I mean, to me, it blows away the accuracy, because here's the deal. The trust has been broken. That's the thing that you can't get back from people that are receiving these crazy bills, and we really don't know where they're coming from. And that's more important than any money that we're really talking about here, is the trust between the city government and the people. So anyway, I'm putting that out there because I think we need to really think about sometimes going into these technological, advances. I know we have to move forward, but I don't know if they did the right thing back in the day in checking out from others that have already gone down that path, that this is the right path to take. Maybe we should have done something different, because these have been a problem from the very beginning. We've been having failures, it seems like, we haven't even gotten through a warranty period, and we've got half of the meters that are basically having to be replaced. And we're going on a different system of guarantee, a prorated system versus it being guaranteed 100%. Anyway, those are my comments. And I thank you guys very much for bringing this up to snuff and giving us these details, because we really didn't have those, so we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on, unless there's anything else. No. All right, moving on to Mr. Well, we did have Mr. Moore already, right?
No, I'm continuing. I have 2 items, Mayor. That
Go
was
right
the
ahead.
first.
Go right ahead.
So the second, as I stated during the introductory comments a few moments ago,
Is there
prior
something going on here?
Board of Adjustments
Oh,
with those of the
I'm sorry.
planning and zoning.
Did you want to go ahead and do that
Do
video?
you
That
want
was
a more
supposed to follow
efficient
this,
government?
correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Do you want
Yeah.
a more efficient government?
So
Do you
let's get
want a
back to the
more
beginning of that
efficient
presentation, please.
Voters in
Let's
Delray
take a pause
Beach
for
will
a
see
moment.
Yeah.
referendum on their
Recue it
March
up, and
ballot.
also if it can
The
be on the
proposed
screen.
referendum
Thank you. So
Do
just
you
by
want
way
a
of
more
introduction,
efficient government? Voters in Delray Beach will see a referendum.
okay. So the Department of Communications, in response to some interests and concerns expressed by a couple of you all I've had discussions with last week, the Department of Communications was able to produce a video to succinctly provide an educational background relative to the Board of Adjustment referendum consideration. So with that, we are simply in position to offer that video presentation so that we can begin the education process and engage in outreach accordingly. So
All right.
let's go.
Guess we're not going to get it on the big screens, huh?
It's coming up.
There we go.
Do you want a more efficient government? Voters in Delray Beach will see a referendum on their March ballot. The proposed referendum combines the responsibilities of the city's Board of Adjustments with those of the Planning and Zoning Board. This simple change streamlines the process for applicants and ensures that the city has enough qualified professionals to staff the development review boards. It also makes city staff more efficient by reducing the number of staff hours spent running multiple boards. The change consolidates considerations of variances under the board that oversees land development regulations amendments, creating a synergy between the tasks. This March, your vote counts. Visit the Palm Beach Elections website for more information.
Okay. Is that good? I mean, are we finished?
We are.
Okay, any questions about that? I think that if people didn't understand, we have two boards. We have a Board of Adjustment. We've got a P&Z board. What we're doing is rolling the P&Z into the P&Z board. That's a Planning and Zoning board. The responsibilities that were once at the Board of Adjustment is simple, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what we're trying to do here. And we have had some difficulty with respect to the BOA board even having a quorum, and the reason for that is because they meet so infrequently. It's very rare that they have to meet, and so as a result of that, the board a lot of times is not able to get their schedule together, and so this is a way to be able to handle those and still have those that are volunteering their time, citizens, making the decisions for, as the BOA was also making decisions. Okay, that's it. If there's any questions, bring them to the city. All right, from the public, it is time for you. If anybody would like to speak on any topic or agenda item other than a quasi-judicial or a public hearing item, now would be the time. Just please step forward, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. We will also speak to any public hearing item later.
Pass this out to them? No, it would help with one part of it. But I can speak to it without it. Michael Muha, 622 Southeast 4th Avenue. Last week I had an incident where I had a landlord bring trash over from outside and dump it on my swale in the front of the property. And luckily, code enforcement was driving by at the time, and Miss Wesley did a great job in confronting the man, and I guess she took some abuse from him. But he said, it's not her swale, so, and his is loaded with cars and they don't move. And I was just wondering where we were on the swale issue with I know we had talked about the barrier island and breaking it up so it wasn't so traumatic or whatever. But because of that incident, that landlord again started his cyber stalking. And he's using cameras, and it's been going on for 5 years, a couple years with just lights, and now with cameras that with some of those pictures you'll see, they start at 8 feet, and he always claims security, so I block it. Then he goes up to 12 feet, so I block it, and so it stopped a little bit because we got him in front of a judge. And now, because of this incident, I don't know if that's true or not, but 2-3 days later, I got it 16 feet in the air on a pole. It's looking into my bedroom. It's looking into my living room. And new laws have been passed. The state has further defined the cyber stalking laws. And I know there's like Coons versus Henderson in Miami that was dealing with height restrictions of cameras peering into people's backyards on the guise of security. And it also referenced that, you know, municipalities could do their own ordinances to combat this. And that's my gist of this right here. And if you would take that up and take a look at it, if it's something we can do, because I know the police can't do anything, code enforcement can't do anything, because there's nothing defined yet, and it's relatively new. And the third thing is, you know, I came here and it's an election year, and I got this flyer, you know, stating, you know, one of the candidates wants to provide a good quality of life for the residents. And I just thought, man, anything that I've had, it isn't that here. And then I sit here and I get in this room and I just think of how I sat in here in a code board meeting, and my wife and I, for 15 minutes, were falsely defamed, called all kinds of names, because we were there to speak out against somebody who put a structure in a 5-foot setback. He wanted 5 feet, but it was one of the candidates who gave him legitimacy why all this happened, and no one said a word. Even the attorney who was sitting there, he finally did after 15 minutes, and told all the board members, who I had no idea who they were, that you can't, you know, use all that information. That's no place to be in here. But because of this flyer, it's just like, why are there rules that you can just defame people and just bring in? He brought in people, and I confronted the attorney, or I believe he's an attorney, and who sent this flyer, said he didn't hear anything.
Okay.
And it just,
Thank you.
I would just like, if you would consider this thought.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Moore, you know, it's funny that there's a camera on top of on a telephone pole or one of the poles. I'm sure that's not privately owned. I think that would be something that's right on top of the property. That might be something that we could look at as far as code is concerned.
More than happy to investigate
Yeah.
that beginning
but
tomorrow.
The cameras on the house, I don't know that we have the authority to do that, but
That is
regardless,
correct.
at least this is one that looks like it's looking right into the backyard.
Yes, ma'am.
At least look at that. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Mitchell Revson. I live at 1105 Kingston Lane. I'm here to talk about the excessive noise from Popstroke, the golf course that's north of George Bush Boulevard on US 1. Look, this issue is not as important as crime or poverty, but to the residents who live around the facility, and we were all there first, you know, this hurts our quality of life, and also it's definitely reduced the value of our homes. It's very noisy. I have double pane windows, like probably a lot of people, and I can hear the thumping of the bass at night. I hear the loud music during the day. And all we're asking is to turn it down a bit, because I think that, I'm assuming that even if they turn it a little bit lower, that the people who go there would still enjoy themselves, but then the residents around would have a better quality of life. So that's all I'm asking. And I'd like to, maybe could be a commission to open up to just talk about that. I don't even know what I know it says in the code of, the noise code, it says that you can't make excessive noise, but it's not actually enforced. So I'd just like them to turn it down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is Roy Simon, 201 Northwest 11th Street, Delray Beach. I'm talking about the Board of Adjustments. I think that's what we're talking about. When I was a young man, I was appointed to the first one in the state here in Delray Beach. The Speaker of the House had trouble with municipal courts, and the state legislature abolished or eliminated municipal courts on a state referendum. The author of one of the legislators wrote a bill creating the Board of Adjustments to act as a paralegal type board to respond to questions that people might have regarding setbacks and other things. When code enforcement came in, and the board was assigned all of that. My question, I understand that you're talking about converting that to the board of the zoning board, And I wonder if that isn't a conflict because the zoning board writes the rules, and if you want to contest it, there's a little bit of prejudice there, I think. And it should be an unbiased board. And at least that's the way the author explained it to us when the author of the bill visited Delray and spoke to the board and explained to us why it was created and what our assignments were. And I think it differs with a little bit with what's going on. But
Thank you so much. I think that will be a legal issue you can maybe look into if there's anything there. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Melanie Stefanovich, 258 Northeast 15th Street, and I'm the executive director at Cocoa Plum Nature School. I emailed the commissioners and the mayor and Mr. Moore about a week ago, and I appreciate your response, an email response from you, Mr. Moore, and from you, Ms. Mayor. The situation that we're in, Cocoa Plum was approved to operate as a private school outside of the educational wing at Case and UMC on the corner of Lake Ida and Swinton about 3 years ago by this very same commission. Thank you for that. We're thriving. Things are great. But in November, construction started on that lot. The developer has been, really responsive and I think as kind as they possibly could be to try to, work with us and respond to our needs. But even so, it's extraordinarily disruptive. The trucks and the beeping and the dust, it's constant. It makes it impossible to operate a school there. We're a nature school. We're outside 80% of the time. We can't be outside because 5 feet away on the other side of our chain link fence, which is no barrier really, are enormous rollers and tractors, and they're going all day long from 7 a.m. until 4 p.m. And it's just really had a negative and adverse effect on our operations. I have families now saying that they will not be able to enroll for next year because they don't want to put their children through this. And this is coming a month after I had a 95% retention rate. Everyone in January was saying we're coming back, except for one family moving away. And now I've got half the people saying we can't put our kids through this for another school year. And this is a project that's lasting 2 to 3 years. So I'm asking the commission today for a couple of things. One is that when we met with the church and the developer today to try to solve the situation and find out what can we do to help Cocoa Plum be able to continue operating. And they're both, they're wonderful partners and they're doing their best, but they feel like their hands are tied too, because to get anything approved, any kind of temporary solution, moving somewhere else on the campus, for Cocoa Plum even to move somewhere else, maybe in the city for a little while, the approval process takes a really, really long time. And would most definitely put us out of business for at least a little while, maybe a long while. So I'm asking for your support when, we come to you with questions and with needs, to expedite things within, the limits of the law, to hear us out, to support us, help us work with the developer and the church to come to solutions so that we don't have to shut down and so that we don't lose our children and families that we're serving. Thank you.
Thank you. You all together? Or?
We are.
Yeah, okay, if you're welcome
Cocoa
to.
Plum, so, yeah.
Did you want to say anything?
Well, I'm a parent. This is my son, and this is Victor.
Hi, Victor.
And just to not belabor the point, but it's been incredibly stressful, really disruptive, disheartening. It's just changed the whole year. Right, as soon as we got this notice that this was going to happen, oh my gosh, what is this going to mean? We lost half the space. When you're driving around and you see the construction fencing right, up against the chain link fence, the color has changed. Being in there for volunteers and meeting and the intense vibration and intense sound, you go in there and you're like, this can't be happening. Victor's been complaining, I don't want to go to school, can I have days off? The schedule is really different because they're trying to spend more time off campus, and that's more time for all of us to be volunteering and to be there, and it's really difficult for the kids to have to make that many adjustments. I mean, their whole schedule is really profoundly affected. So, do you want to say something?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you give she did give her name.
My name is Ellen Rondina.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
And address.
And address?
Sorry, 16 Swallow Drive, Boynton Beach.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anyone else?
Me.
Okay, your name and your address if you know it.
My address is the same one as she said.
We got that. And what's your name?
Victor Espinosa Rondina.
Okay.
And I would like the construction to stop. It's hard to focus for math, writing, and reading, and it's dusty, and I don't like having to move off school a lot. It's kind of hard to do it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Victor. We appreciate that. Wow. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am?
I'm just going to echo some sentiments. Sure. My name's Maria Dayan. My son couldn't be here. I live at
your address? Yep.
370 Northwest 35th Street in Boca Raton, Florida. To echo Victor's sentiments, the dust is a real issue. Melanie said 5 feet, but it's 18 inches away. I measured it. I measured it with my feet today, and it's when they say vibrations, it's serious vibrations. The kids are going home hearing the sound of the machines throughout the day. So like Melanie said, I really hope that you could support us in helping in any way, like if we need permits to build a fence or if we need permits to do anything. I'd really appreciate your support because the kids love being like part of the community in Delray. They go to so many spaces in the area. They do a lot of field trips around here. I think they're a really valuable asset to the community, so I want them protected. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Lucica Suarez, 115 Southwest 11th Avenue. I know there are some infrastructure plans on the south side. And I attended CRA meetings and there were some plans that were in place, but I just want to ask, like, as far as sidewalks are concerned, because that was one of my biggest concerns, because I live about a street away from Village Academy and not too far from a children's park. And often when I look out the window, I see mothers and children walking in the street, and quite often on 11th Avenue, the speeding isn't always observed. So sometimes I see cars going faster than the speed limit while mothers and children are literally walking on the road. There's literally some sidewalks, some places where there's sidewalks and then they end, and then there's an actual bus stop at the end of our street and they do not have a sidewalk to stand on. So often you see cars zipping by, and you see mothers, and the other day I saw a mother with 2 children hand by hand, and she was literally walking on the road. There was a car parked across the street, and so there was traffic coming both ways, and this woman had her and her children at a risk simply because there were no sidewalks there. And so I just wanted to understand, what is the time frame for us to get sidewalks on 11th Avenue on the south side, because this is a major safety issue.
Okay. We can't answer that here, but did you give her a number or a card or something? Okay, great. I was going to say we can't answer that up here, but what we can do is have the city manager make sure that somebody gets back in touch with you. You left your address, and maybe what you can do is, I don't know if I don't see Missy here, but oh yeah, sorry. Maybe you can get the exact address and just find out if we have that on the CIP plan or whatever. That'd be great.
Thank you so much.
You got it. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Gary Rice, and I love living in Delray Beach. The only comment I have of a negative nature is, and I'm sure all of you are faced with the same thing, the amount of noise that is created by these lawn grass blowers is absolutely, I would say, the only problem that I would say that should be paid attention to in the city. And that's my only comment. And by the way, I live at 1230 South Ocean Boulevard.
Okay, thank you so much,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, everybody. Yvonne Odom, 3905 Lawson Boulevard. I wasn't going to say anything, but I just want to compliment some people because I volunteered for the Delray Open for many, many years, more years than I can count. And we know what happened with the rain.
Yeah.
And then that meant they played yesterday. And then when I drove up, all the barriers were put down. And I don't think we give enough credit to those gentlemen or ladies who have to make it easy for us. They're working when we're asleep. Mm-hmm. And if we didn't learn anything from the pandemic, we need to learn to respect and honor those people who cut the grass, who move those barriers, who flush your toilets, And so I was just elated when I came up, and I'm like, they did all this already. So I just wanted to put a shout out to those. I don't even know who you are. But I remember when I was in high school, those of you who know my story, the only African American at the school, but those custodians and those people that cut the grass, those ladies that clean the toilets, they look like me. And they put a smile on my face every day. So I've always had a special place in my heart for those people who did those things we don't want to do. So whoever did it, thank you very much. I appreciate you. I love you. And thank you very much. And I just wanted to say that so that everybody understands we cannot exist for those people.
That's true.
And don't ever forget it.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
George Long, 46 North Swinton Avenue. While we're complimenting people, I went out to the alley behind my place with my community service outfit, a little bucket and a pickup thing, and it was all cleaned up. So somebody's cleaning up. The volunteers, I guess, or well, there was volunteers and uniform people cleaning up, doing a good job. And this event we had last couple of weeks just brought so many people to Delray. And I was thinking that with all these people coming to Delray and the new residents and the visitors, we could put all this together and maybe find a solution for our beach renourishment project. Everybody just brings a little bit of sand, and we've got it covered. And some people are not going to object to that. Say, well, what's in it for me? Well, we're going to give them the iguanas, and everything will be even. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one, public comment is closed. Moving on to approval of its consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Okay, regular agenda item number 7A. This is the nomination for the appointment to the Board of Adjustment, as we had just discussed. Mr. Rob Long, you are first. Which of the two would you like to choose?
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You're not prepared for your appointment?
There's only two.
I'll just do the first one, John DeLacio.
Second.
All right, call the roll, please.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston, you're next.
I'll move the name Tiana Morales.
Second.
All right, call the roll, please.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
All right, 7B, nomination for the appointment of Planning and Zoning, Mr. Rob Long.
I nominate Judy Malika.
Second.
Okay, call the roll. Or, well, anybody, any comments? None. Call the roll.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes. All right, moving on to public hearings. We have ordinance number 04-24.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, amending the land development regulations of the City of Delray Beach Code of Ordinances, Chapter 4, Zoning Regulations, Article 4.4, Base Zoning District, Section 4.4.13, Central Business CBD District, Subsection I, CBD Parking Standards, Subsection 2, minimum number of off-street parking spaces, to extend the parking exemption for changes in commercial use within existing commercial buildings and associated outdoor areas within the West Atlantic Neighborhood Subdistrict of the Central Business District through December 31st, 2026, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, authority to codify, and providing an effective date. And this is second reading.
All right. Ms. Anthea?
Hi, Anthea Janiotis, Development Services Director for the record. This is not a lot of words that are changing in the LDRs, but let's understand the ramification really quickly. There's an existing exemption for existing commercial buildings. There's an existing exemptions for existing commercial buildings in the West Atlantic area that allows them to change use without requiring additional parking. It extends to also include any outdoor use area. It's been in place for a few years. It goes back to November 7th, 2017. This is here's the history again. So it was extended and expanded to include those outdoor areas in 2020. In 2023, this incentive, to sort of foster reinvestment in that area expired. And so we've drafted an extension of this. There's a number of goals, objectives, and policies that talk about encouraging adaptive reuse of existing structures and those things. Now, it's gone through a review through Historic Preservation Board. The Downtown Development Authority was sort of split. I think it's important to note. And Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval. Parking Management Advisory Board was generally not supportive of the request. So most of the issue, I think, not all of them, but most of the concerns that were raised by the boards were, I think, the question of sequencing of development, like if a building got built after 2017, was it now considered existing? And so it could waive its parking. If it changed uses, what if something was built with, during this window? So, I think it's important to understand that the way that we have handled parking downtown has evolved and changed over the years. And 20 years ago, I don't think we were requiring as much parking for the reuse of existing buildings in the core of our downtown when it was not thriving like it is. West Atlantic still needs the investment, and we need to make it easy for uses like restaurants to come in on Fifth and other places. So. But in a response to the concern raised by the DDA, the Parking Management Board, and some of the other reviewers, the ordinance was adjusted to include that existing means that they were there prior to the original adoption date, which was November 7th, 2017. So that is the clarification that has been offered in response to the review.
All right.
That's it. I'm here if you have questions.
All right. Any questions, concerns? It's really basically we're just extending this, and we're making sure that we're not including new buildings that had been built since the 2017 original. We're still just looking at the existing buildings. So, okay.
Public comment?
Sorry, you're right. Thank you. If there's any public comment, this would be the time to step forward and speak. Seeing no one moving, public comment is closed. We'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Thank you, Anthea. All right, moving on to first readings, ordinance number 08-24.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, amending the land development regulations of the City of Delray Beach Code of Ordinances, Chapter 4, Zoning Regulations, Article 4.4, Base Zoning District, Section 4.4.3, Single Family Residential R1 District, Section 4.4.5, Low Density Residential RL District, and Section 4.4.6, Medium Density Residential RM District, to adopt floor area ratio and building articulation regulations for residential development east of the Intracoastal Waterway, amending Appendix A definitions to adopt definitions for horizontal articulation and step back, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, authority to codify, and providing an effective date. And this is first reading.
All right, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
And 9B, ordinance number 03-24.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, by amending Chapter 37 Delray Beach Code Enforcement of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, by amending Sections 37.37 through 37.39 to establish a civil citation procedure pursuant to Florida Statute 162, Part 2, as an alternative code enforcement method, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing effective date, and for other purposes.
Okay, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
All right, on
Yes.
to comments and inquiries of non-agenda items. Mr. Moore, anything?
Just briefly, the aforementioned Board of Adjustment video presentation will actually go live for public consumption beginning this evening, so just to be clear. Otherwise, nothing further.
Perfect.
Thank you.
City Attorney?
I have nothing.
Okay, to the commission. Let's start with Mr. Long.
Got nothing.
All right. Yeah, I know you have something.
Right. Well, I certainly hope YouTube doesn't get shut down by the amount of people watching that video. Just joking.
Wow. Ouch.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, listen.
So
Oh.
talk to us about something positive,
I
like
will.
the tennis.
I will. Well,
Okay,
Before
very
I do
good.
that, Chief, the truck enforcement on Atlantic Avenue, it's been spectacular the last week or so. I saw many units out there today. Just you guys are doing a really good job. And then to piggyback what Ms. Odom said, who I can confirm she was there a lot. I was there more than you, Ms. Odom, but she was.
I saw you too.
Yes, but all the volunteers, everyone from Parks and Rec, the first responders, Match Point, the ball kids. The mayor thanked many of them yesterday.
Yep.
It was the best I've ever seen.
It really
I've been
was.
going 15 years.
Yeah. Each year it seems to get better.
Yeah, and the fact that in the grandstands they had to remove the green tarps because they needed
many
more
people.
seating yesterday. It was spectacular. So Taylor Fritz, congratulations, the #1 American won.
Held on to his
yesterday.
title here.
Yeah, and it was just spectacular. So kudos to all involved. That's
All right,
it.
very good. Commissioner Burns?
Yes, I have a couple of things. One of them concerns grants. On the consent agenda, we approved 2 grants, I think. One of the Education Board going to various schools, and then there was one of the Germantown Road project. I would just like to ask that we consider at the start of the next budget season to consider having a person that's in charge of grants to kind of streamline grants so that we know where they are, who offering. Right now, different departments offer grants. So someone that could just like oversee the grant process, monitoring to make sure that we're meeting targets, just a consideration. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So we are evaluating different approaches to be considered for the upcoming fiscal year proposed budget process. So that's actually quite in alignment with what we have in mind. So we look forward to that review process.
Okay. Thank you. So that's already being done, is what you're saying?
That's being handled administratively as we engage recommendations for fiscal year 2024-2025. We will offer considerations to that effect. That's already part of our process.
I'll look for it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And then secondly, I received 2, I keep getting these requests for proclamations, and I know that the proclamation policy states that we don't do proclamations, so I've explained that they're documents of recognition. So I received 2 requests, one from Eat Better, Live Better, CEO Deborah Tendrick, for her 2nd annual luncheon that she'll be having, and also from Delta Sigma Theta, the South Palm Beach Alumni Chapter started their charter here 30 years ago in Delray Beach, and they would also like to have one, so I'd like to get consensus that we can do.
I would say great.
Sure.
I would just want to note on Eat Better, Live Better, I had brought this up in the past and didn't get a consensus for it, absolutely referencing everything that organization did during the pandemic. So
She can send in that information. We can actually
yeah,
include it.
Yeah, I want to
Absolutely.
make sure that we include that.
Sure.
'Cause
No problem.
All right. Okay, so
Yep.
thank you.
I think you got that. Sir? Yep.
Yeah, I think everything is covered. I just wanted to. Actually, no. Rescinding Resolution 146. Remember
Yes,
from our
we were
workshop.
going to talk about that, yep.
Oh,
Can we get that put on our next agenda?
Let's do it.
yes.
One last
I
agenda.
mean, even if
right?
it's already been rescinded, it doesn't matter. We'll doubly make sure by
sure.
rescinding it. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
March
do
5th it is.
Okay. And I'll just be providing a list, and I don't know if any of you want to do it as well. There's a lot of projects that I just want an update on from staff, and maybe it would even be important to do in our last meeting. For instance, the train station, if we're not going to cut the ribbon on, kind of where is that? The conversations with Veterans Park, the golf course RFP or letter of interest, Old School Square. We had asked about the Carver 2 building in regards to, so I just have a few things that, if it, in the last meeting, just where they're at, as we
Maybe Mr. Moore can
look to transition.
get that from you and prepare a list, and then during your comments at the end, you can go right through and tell everybody where everything is, update everybody.
Yeah,
We'll do that
38.
at the end of the March 5th meeting, some of which I've already
those to
provided
him.
via
Yeah.
information letter reports, but we'll get you other specifics regarding ribbon cuttings and other activities, what the forecast looks like in that regard, not to mention some of the specific selection processes you've referenced for which I've recently provided updates.
Yeah, and if
Easy.
anybody else has, anything that they want an update on, Adam, if you want
Adam,
an update on how
Adam,
many,
you
how many
must
YouTube,
have a long list.
how many YouTube videos
The only
views we
update I
have.
have is when the last meeting is.
How long it's going to be.
Right.
Oh, I'm gonna stretch it out. I'm gonna stretch it out just for you.
Oh,
Adam.
boy. I have a funny feeling he's not lying. All right, so I just have two things. First of all, I want to say thank you to the all involved. I think it was mostly, oh gosh, I'm having a brain freeze here. But anyway, Parks and Recreation for putting together the Mayor's Chess Challenge. There was one person that was involved in most of it, and for some reason, my mind isn't working to bring up her name. She did the bulk of it. She did a great job. We had people coming from all over, lots of kids, and I found my group of people that I can play chess against. They're the beginner kids, because I actually can win.
Braver than me.
I can win. I mean, so anyway, no, it was actually great. We had a lot of kids and a lot of young ladies too that were lined up to play chess with me, and I did as much as I could, and some of them beat me and some of them didn't, so I was kind of excited too. And then the second thing is that I just wanted to mention the Delray Beach Open and how so well coordinated the whole thing was from start to finish, and the number of events that were associated with the Open this year. I walked in and it felt so festive. With all the lights around the trees and the chandeliers, or whatever they call them, the balls of all the lights hanging from the palm trees. It just was amazing. They even had a little restaurant this year that they were trying out, and they did some new things like the brunch and a couple of different new events that they're going to do probably again next year, so hopefully people will know about that and go to it. It was really just amazing from start to finish, and like you were saying, Commissioner Frankel, it is just, they step it up every year. I was been walking out, first of all, when I came off the court when we were giving I did the coin toss. Somebody stopped me and said, I want you guys to know that this is the reason, or you to know, Mayor, that this is one of the main reasons that we moved to Delray. And it was because such a small town can have such a great event. And not just this event, but the Savor the Avenue and some of the other events that they mentioned. They said there's no town like us. And I have to tell you, we do stand out, and it's pretty amazing. I also, on the way out, I don't know, it's the end of my term here, and all of a sudden people are recognizing me finally. They know. Finally. I don't get mayor of what? It's like, oh, you're the mayor. I'm going, well, finally. But anyway, talking about how amazing they were coming from other towns and how amazing our town is, and that they come here every year for this and some other events. And they were talking about the tree. I come here for the tree. And it just is really something that we've done well. And I want to just pause for a minute, because and I know we got a lot of flack when I first started, when I was knocking on doors. People were very upset about how many festivals, and it was just overkill, and it was every single weekend, and it was the people that are voting here and living here that felt very overwhelmed. And we did dial it back, and maybe a little bit too much. Sometimes just when the pendulum swings just a little bit too far, but we have a sweet spot now that seems to be working. Our residents aren't complaining. They're happy with what we're doing. It's not too much. They do have to reroute traffic every here and there. Understandably, it's not every single weekend as it was once in the past. So I think that just keeping that tab, going with the residents so that we can keep the quality of life as high as we possibly can. And then they kind of come out and participate. So we just, I feel like, have met that sweet spot, and I hope that we continue to do just that. So those are the things I wanted to kind of bring to the table here, because I'm really thrilled that it feels good and right, and we're hearing it from the people out there. So thank you guys for making that possible. And that's it. Anything else?
No.
I got an anniversary man I got to go visit. Meeting adjourned.